had one. This is Scarlett's bridle, and it's called a bitless bridle for apparent reasons. It has no bit. So all basic bridles have a bit or something that is actually the control part. They have the head stall, which is the whole thing over the head, and they have the reins. So 3 basic parts to the bridle. The head stall has a crown piece, goes over the top, has a brow band, that goes across their brow. At least the words make sense. This is called a throat latch, goes underneath their throat and buckles. And these are called cheek pieces, it goes by the cheek, and that's what attaches to the bridle. So this head stall, very simple, same thing. What's this called? Head stall. Crown, well the whole thing's the head stall, bit and the reins. This is the crown piece. This is brow band. These are cheek pieces. And this is a throat latch. Right. Most English bridles have another part called a cavesson, or a noseband. And it fits inside the bridle like this. And it helps the horse, helps to keep the horse's mouth shut in a snaffle. And that's really important because if a horse opens his mouth, he can avoid the bit, but also his mouth gets dry and the bit doesn't feel very comfortable. So it's actually better for the horse to keep his mouth shut. We don't use them on any of our bridles because every time we go out there to work with our horses, they have a halter on because we're leading them. And to try to put a noseband under the halter and all this, it's way too complicated and it's not necessary. So we've just taken all of the cavessons off of our bridles. Cavesson or noseband. Okay? There's different kinds of cavessons, but anyway, a normal English bridle will have a cavesson. When you go to bridle a horse, you should only have to do 2 buckles. If it has the cavesson, you have to buckle the cavesson because remember, this is to keep his nose shut. So you don't want his nose shut when you put a bit in his mouth. So you would have to buckle, this would be unbuckled, so you would buckle that, and you would buckle the throat latch. Everything else stays buckled. You don't need to be undoing any other buckles. I'll show you how a bridle is supposed to fit, and we have fitted all the bridles to all the horses, so that's why you don't need to adjust anything else, only the throat latch. This is a bitless bridle. Has the same basic pieces for the headstall, but instead of controlling the horse with a bit in his mouth, this is a fairly hard rawhide piece that puts pressure across the bridge of the nose. And so when you pull, it puts some pressure here on Scarlett, she stops. She also turns the same way. Does that make sense? With bits, the fatter the bit, the gentler it is. And if you think about something pushing on you, if a knife pushes on you that's really narrow, it really hurts. If something really fat pushes on you, it's very gentle. So the fatter the bit, the gentler it is in the horse's mouth. And we don't have any severe bits here. All of our bits are fairly gentle. We have some that are really fat and gentle. This is about a medium gentle bit here. And this is, okay, so bridling is hard, and if you mess it up very much, some horses really object and then they have problems, and Gracie is one of those. So we're going to start with Katie so I can show you the basics. And then with haltering, I'm not going to try to do this to her. Oh, it's very obnoxious and aggressive. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to unhook her. So I'm going to trust her to not make a bullet for the door. You guys are my door. I'm going to unhook her from there because if I leave her hooked up and I try to bridle her, she really hasn't got a lot of room to move her face. She feels trapped. It's just a very uncomfortable, stressful thing for her. And I don't have the room to work. So she's not going to go anywhere, I hope. I'm just going to unhook her, and now I've got her face here. So we leave the halters on, and when you halter, and it's nice to put the halter up almost as high as it'll go, because then you don't have it interfering with the bridle. It's up here on the bridge, way up high on the bridge of her nose, and it's out of your way. So just like haltering, I'm going to face the same direction the horse is going, and there are 2 different holds. I can either take my right hand between her ears, grab the crown piece like this. So my right hand is going to be the one that pulls the bridle up. My left hand is going to guide the bit. My left hand is also, I'm going to stick my thumb, sorry, keep it right here in her mouth. She has no teeth right here. They're called the barbs. And when I stick my thumb in there, she goes, "Ugh," and opens her mouth. And then I can guide the bit in. So she goes, "Ugh." When she opens her mouth, I pull with my right hand. And that pulls it up into her mouth. I don't try to shove it with my left hand. Then the ears come forward one at a time, and you don't want to crumple the ears. You want them to just bend straight, like that. Then the other one comes forward. You put the crown piece over. You adjust the brow band so that, like this would be pinching. You adjust the brow band so it's nice and comfortable on her. Look this way. Here's where your throat latch is. That's the only thing that I'm going to attach. So the throat latch comes over by her throat. It buckles to this. And the throat latch the only purpose of a throat latch is to keep her from rubbing the bridle off of her head. But for obvious reasons, you do not want it tight because then she can't breathe. And you have to realize that when a horse moves his head this way, it tightens the throat latch. So you want to be able to put your hand in this direction, a whole hand's width of this throat latch to make sure it's not going to be too tight. Okay? To make sure that the bridle fits her right, it should rest right in the corner of her mouth with just one little smile here, one or two little smiles. And then you know that it's in the correct place. If it was really tight, it would be pulling like this. If it's too loose, it's clanging in her teeth, and she could get her tongue over the bit, which would be uncomfortable and you'd lose control. Okay?
Her tongue fits underneath it?
Her tongue fits underneath it, that's correct. So the only thing you unbuckle on this is the throat latch. To unbridle, it's also very important because if I was to take this bridle and pull it off of her, the bit can twist in her mouth and actually cut her. That's what happened to Scarlett a couple of years ago, and she never quite got over it, so we switched to a bitless bridle. So bridling properly is really important because it can horses have very, very good memories, and if something hurts them once, they may not ever get over it. They may just be like panicked the whole time you're trying to put a bridle on. So to take her bridle off, I undo the throat latch. I'm going to pull the crown piece forward, and then I'm going to let her spit the bit out. I'm not going to take it off of her. So I'm just going to pull it up like this, and then I'm going to wait. And she starts spitting, and I let it come out. But I don't want to pull it because then it twists the bit inside her mouth and gets all stuck. So the one hold is right hand between the ears, holding the crown piece, putting it in like this. The other hold for short people or for horses that kind of don't want you messing with their ears or want your hand up there. You can reach your right hand around and you can grab it right below the brow band like this. And then the same thing, the left hand guides the bit, my thumb goes in her mouth. When she says "ah," I pull with my right hand, and then I just switch hands. The ears come forward nice and straight, one at a time, and then you buckle the throat latch. Any questions?